Well, thank you, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight, and it's a pleasure growing our ongoing partnership. And I'm going to be talking more about that shortly, just a little bit about myself. I got my start in politics in British Columbia, where I worked with the Federal Conservative Party for a decade, working with Chuck Strahl and Ed Fast. And then Preston Manning called me out from the prairies to run the School of Practical Politics at the Manning Centre, which I did for 3 years and trained political activists across the country, advocating for free market principles and conservative values from coast to coast. And then after doing that for 3 years, I was hired by a construction association called the Progressive Contractors, where I got to learn the construction industry a little bit, at least on the clack side. I worked with construction companies you might have heard of, little small ones like PCL and Graham, Leadcore, Kiewit, and got the industrial perspective. And through that experience, I also got to know a lot of the associations across the country. My focus was mostly Western Canada. And one of the best associations I came across was a group called ICBA. And they are not well known in Alberta, but that's soon to change. ICBA is the largest construction association in Canada, with over 4,500 members and clients. And ICBA Alberta is the newest chapter. We just opened in January. The building you see there is our new Eau Claire office. We bought the bottom floor, and we're looking forward to moving in early 2024. One of our services that we provide to our membership is our group health benefits platform that has over 160,000 people represented and served by our plans. We're having 65 employees going. I think a few were hired last week, so it might be getting close to 70 by the time I end this talk. And we're the only Merit Canada representative in Alberta. Merit is the National Association of Open Shop Contractors. I keep pressing the so if I'm not blinding somebody with the green laser. What are our characteristics? What are our values? We are champions of entrepreneurship. And it's just great to hear the gentleman speaking now he is near and dear to our heart. Small construction companies who are fighting, taking the risks every day, employing workers, being the best employer they can, and trying to get through the regulatory hubbub, just trying to make a buck. That's who we fight for. That's who we wake up in the morning thinking about. How do we tell that story of construction? How do we stand up for them? We've developed a social media platform with over 100,000 followers on all the various platforms. Yes, we speak up for construction companies, but construction companies are companies like all others. They've got balance sheets, they've got employees, they've got their tax returns, they've got all that kind of stuff. And so really when we speak on behalf of them, we're speaking up on behalf of all businesses. What is that construction story? And as you hear this, I think you're going to hear a lot of your stories in this at the same time. Construction is a technology story. Like many of your businesses, technology is invading and pervading every aspect of our businesses. And in construction, we're spending more than $5 billion a year investing in new technologies. The problem is that kids in high school, when they're thinking about a career, they often think, I'm going to get in the tech sector, or I'm going to be an engineer, I'm going to be a lawyer. Those are great trades. What they almost never think about is, I'm going to go into construction. We need to change that story. You want to get in technology? Get into construction. More and more, that is a tech story. It is an entrepreneurial story. When you think of the construction companies you know here in Edmonton, a lot of them have the names of individuals or families that worked out of garages, back shops, and farms, struggled and scraped by and build those companies into what they are today. And yet, again, if you go into high schools and ask students what they want to do, rarely they're thinking U of C, they're thinking U of A, great institutions, very proud of them. But more often, they should be thinking about taking a trade, graduating from university without any student loan, starting at 60, 70, 80 grand a year out of school, out of 2-year trade school, and then start their own business and start making real money, generating the wealth that benefits everybody else. Another story we talk about for construction, this is a story you're going to know all too well, is that government is out of control. From 2017 to 22, federal Canadian government hired as many workers as the US government, despite that government being 10 times as big. 72,000 workers. There's another stat that I sometimes include in these decks, but it's more of a BC-focused stat. The Alberta one's much better. We're so lucky to be living here. In BC, they had 114,000 employees hired in the last 2 years. Any idea what percentage of that is private sector? It's like 5,000. You're 110 to 5. That is the story across Canada. We're doing much better in Alberta, but it's still not good enough. Not enough of you are being created to pay for all those amazing public sector workers. Nobody's complaining about the doctors. Nobody's complaining about the nurses. We need them. They're lovely. You guys pay for them, and we need more of you. That's who we fight for. Two other stats that talk about government being completely out of control. So Canada, G20, does that mean we're in the top 20? No. When you look at the World Bank report on the time it takes construction, and that includes all of our awesome natural resource projects to get built, we're 64th in the world. Woo, Canada. 64th. It's a shame. Now, and maybe even more shameful is that the OECD evaluated the top 38 countries in the world in terms of economic performance between now and 2030. They found that Canada's growth rate will be 0.07%. And you know what? That marks, I'm not sure if it was CD Howe, Bank of Montreal. One of them came up with a report just yesterday saying they expect Canada's growth next year to be 1.1%. Alberta, amen, will be leading the pack at 3.4%. So really good, comparatively, but still, Canada at 1.1 is echoing what they're saying is worst economic performer for the next decade. Why is that? Way too many regulations. So we fight those kind of regulations, and we fight it with stuff like this. This is a video we created back in 2017 when TMX was trying to get approved. And at the same time, the BC government was introducing new taxes to make gas even more expensive. This is called the Big Gas Tax.
I hate these big ass prices.
You mean BC's big gas prices?
Yeah, those big gas prices.
Well, because of BC's big gas tax is 55 cents a liter.
55 cents a liter? That's a big gas tax.
Big gas tax.
Our big gas taxes are the biggest in North America.
That sounds like a big-ass tax problem.
BC's big ass tax problem.
And we have a big ass shortage.
What do you mean a big gas shortage?
We can't even get Canada's big ass out to market.
Canada's big gas is just sitting there doing what?
Canada's big ass is going nowhere.
We need to get Canada's big gas moving.
If only we had a big ass pipeline.
Yeah, then we could get Canada's big ass moving.
Big ass pipeline, big ass tax cut.
Means big gas savings.
I like big gas savings.
Join us at ICBA.ca and sign the petition to get Canada's big ass moving.
So you'll notice you probably have never seen that before, but it was seen 2 million times in British Columbia. Why? Albertans already know. You don't need to sell it here. And so being an association that is actively involved in the nation's economic interests in British Columbia, a critical province for Alberta's interests and Canada's economic development is critical. Speaking of critical, Catherine already mentioned our awesome partnership intervening against Bill C-69. I got to tell you, the week before the decision came down, she and I were talking, and it's just like, okay, Catherine, here's my draft op-ed. It's depressing. We've lost again. Those darned Liberals. And then, sure enough, that morning, it comes out, and it's a total surprise. We win. And it's, I put the wrong one up there. Shoot, this is the old one we did back in March. In October, you know, it shows us being victorious. But that was greatly unexpected. There are so many Bill C-69s out there. You guys do so much great work fighting. Thank you for all the work you do. And we're so proud to partner. And we also do other things. The one on the right, it says RCMP, but if you read the article, it's actually us. We put $100,000 up because back in March of 2022, February of 2022, a group of 20 masked vigilantes did $20 million of damage on the Coastal GasLink, shutting down the pipeline for months. More importantly, they harmed the security officers who were on site, and the damage they did was to the equipment there. This threatens the welfare of the workers on the site. Yes, we put this $100,000 up as a reward because we believe in the oil and gas industry and the economic prosperity that'll bring to everybody. but we also strongly believe in the safety of workers. And when protesters, and in this case terrorists, get involved, we know that's gone too far. So we're happy to put our money where our mouth is. Lastly, I'll quickly go over these slides. I was really pleased that Catherine could join us in Calgary back in October. One thing we do is really advocate for the wellness of construction workers. It's a dire situation. I mentioned before that we have over 160,000 people on our group health benefit plans. What that enables us to do is look at those plans and see where the aggregate spending is. And we can see that if you look at all the prescriptions under our plans, the top 3 are ADHD, anxiety, depression. It's mental wellness. That is the top issue. And one, it's costing employers and health plans a lot, but more importantly, it's showing it's costing the lives of our workers. The suicide rate among workers construction workers is 5 times the national average. Now, I feel it's important to point out, I don't believe that's because construction is so bad. It's that people with a certain personality type are drawn to the skilled trades, whether it's construction industry or oil and gas. And so there are people who maybe didn't fit the typical model of sit down in classroom and shut up. They are people who learn with their hands. And they've been told for 18 years, no, shut up and be silent. Here, take this Ritalin. And now they're not doing well once they get in the careers. And we're happy to support them, but we want to be acknowledged. We're doing our best to do that. So what we did is we got together with psychological experts, group health experts, and the industry, and we designed a group health, a wellness program designed by the construction industry for the construction industry. It is a 12-month-long curriculum that includes in-person training and lunchroom talks, but also online training. And then we decided we needed to go one step further. We needed to take people on the road to get the conversation going, because the killer is silence. The reason why people struggle with mental health is they're not prepared to talk about it. So we bring people out who have been through a lot, like Clint Malarchuk. Clint, of course, was the Buffalo Sabres goalie who had his neck slit in the middle of a game. And he was dying on the ice. And if it wasn't for a military-trained trainer who squeezed his, the vein that goes to your head. Yeah, thank you. If it wasn't for that, he would have died. The problem for Clint is that before that accident ever happened, he already had depression, anxiety, and addiction issues. So that accident merely caused him to spiral into PTSD and resulted a couple of years later in a suicide attempt. And he shows in our talk the x-ray of the bullet that's still in his head. Nevertheless, because of the love of his wife, who acted quickly, got him to hospital, he survived and continued on, lives to tell the story, and has dedicated his life to encouraging other people not to stay in silence, but to speak out. So we pay for Clint to go and talk across the country, and another person we use is Corey Hirsch, the former silver medalist for Team Canada and Vancouver Canucks goalie. Both of them are good Alberta boys. Corey raised in Calgary, Clint from Edmonton, and we're going to be bringing them out and partnering with AEG to bring them up here to talk to your audience as well. Those are the kind of things we do. And all of that to say, we're proud to partnership with AEG. And I mentioned the Group Health Benefits Program. On AEG's website, new website that'll be coming out soon, there's a page on there that'll be highlighting our partnership. And one thing we're really proud of is we love organizations like AEG. And what we do is we share the revenue. So when your members, when AEG members buy group health benefits through AEG and ICBA, the revenue from that goes to AEG, funding the awesome things that you guys do. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to chatting with you all later.